So the sun moves on into gateway number 29. 29 is in the sacral center in the human design system in the chart. And the 29 has this sense of urgency to move. Any of the, well, there are 9 gateways in the sacral center. All of them have a kind of sexual or a cross-pollinating energy, in that there's going to be some kind of interaction that takes place. The energy is going to move. It's going to cause something to go further. The 34 is the odd one. That's just the gateway of power. But all of these other ones, like the 29, when the 29 is active and it commits to something, then something is going to blossom. Something is going to flower from that. So it's a very, very important gateway in human design, in the I Ching. And it's one of these, when you look at the trigrams, you look at the bar marks at the bottom of the hexagram, it's one of those duplicates. You get broken, solid, broken, and then you get broken, solid, broken. It duplicates. So it's like a double emphasis on this trigram we call Khan, which is the gateway of water. It's the trigram of water, and it's the trigram of danger, if you will. So 29 is this energy of commitment. Do I get into this thing or not? Shall I put my whole sacral cross-pollinating energy into something or not? Now, the original translation from the Chinese is something like the abysmal, the deep within the deep. Like you can't get any deeper than the 29. It's almost like this urgency to make a move, to make some kind of change, some kind of difference. And here we see it in the wheel. This is the kind of reddy colored here on the lower right corner. And the potential gateway on the other end is the 46, which, as one of the spokes of the wheel, if you will, the 46 in the self center, indicates a changing of the seasons. So it's an interesting one that there's this 29 that's got this urgency to make a commitment or not, aligning with the 46 through this channel of seeking fulfillment. It's in part of what we call the abstract sensing circuitry. And we looked at the 33 the other day, which is where the story comes to a conclusion, right? I've gone through all these experiences and here's the conclusion. Did it add up to anything? Do I feel resolved in what it is that's taken place? So the 29 is really key, using this sacral energy to commit to something so that the fulfillment comes about. So the essential thing with the 29 is to say yes to the things that really matter. And when you look at life, you'll see yes is probably one of the most magical words that can ever happen. It means yes, that life can expand. Yes, life can go on. Yes, we can go on into this space of fulfillment. So I call the gateway commitment the automatic yes. And there's the difficulty, is if it's an automatic yes, get me out of here, get me into something different. Knee-jerk yes. So when we look at it really clearly, it is about sincere, patient perseverance provides the basis for success and fulfillment. Right? There's a real strong energy in this 29 to make a movement, to change the circumstances, to move into a place of success, if you will. And success, I'm saying it's all about being fulfilled in life. And when you consider your life, you might wonder, what am I really here for if I'm not to be fulfilled in being me and living my life? And if I keep saying yes to all kinds of things that don't bring me fulfillment, then that's something that's really worth looking at. When we were compiling our Book of Destinies about the 192 life themes in human design, we borrowed from the work of this lady in Australia, Bronnie Ware, who had sat at the bedside of people that were about to die in a hospice. And she was talking to them in their last hours, maybe days of their life. And she kept hearing all these regrets from people. And the number one regret she heard was, I wish I'd lived my life according to my own source, rather than doing what everyone else expected of me. And this was for people in the last moments of their life. They were realizing they kept on committing to things that did not work for them, that were not in tune with them. that they were obliging somehow or other into other people's life circumstances. So very, very important thing. Where do we use the word yes? So on the one side, the yes is this massive expansion that can take place, but it's got to be in tune with the rest of our life, right? Our own type and our own authority. Then when we say yes to something, it's really, really solid and profound and clear. So no matter how dark or dangerous aspects of our life appear to be, there is always a way through. Always a way through. Establish for yourself the art of making right commitments for each decision and each situation that confronts you. How do you do that? Follow your own type and authority. Recognize the intention sometimes just to say yes wholesale and see the great potential problem that comes about there. So when the sun goes into the 29, we're all going to get this real opportunity to see, is my yes a sincere one? Is it really grounded from my own source? Or am I seeking to oblige or go along with the rule systems or, follow everybody else's dictates in life? We're not here to live anybody else's life, right? Never give up and never be manipulated. So important to understand that. The pressure to commit to other people's agendas can be enormous sometimes. And the 29 says, I'll do anything. I'll say yes to anything anybody asks. So let's have a look through the line information here. 6 lines. We're going to start with the first line, which is always the foundation of any hexagram, right? So if you really want to find out what the hexagram is about, look at the foundation first, the first line. And the first line says, be cautious, right? Just because there's this impulse to make a change or to move on or to make something happen or do some cross-pollination of some sort or other, be cautious. And then wondering if you can succeed will cause you to wobble. You get in that space of hesitation. Well, is it a yes or should I, could I, would I? And the moment you get into these kinds of considerations, should I, it's a mental obligation. Has nothing to do with you. It's something referred from somewhere else. Should I? Who said if something needs to happen in a particular way? So 29 is a really, really solid, clear yes that's possible there, but be cautious is the beginning of it, right? Yes, life is wanting to expand. Yes, one of the laws of the universe, life begets more life. Can't help itself. There's always this expansion, but the 29, we have to be really, really careful and clear about it. Is it a solid yes? Responding to situations according to only what is genuinely needed, or else inviting trouble. That is very, very clear. We all know those things we got involved with, we got dragged into somehow or other, and it's like, oh my goodness, and the pain and the difficulties getting out of things. And major life decisions sometimes, careers, partnerships, purchases, all kinds of things that can get us into real trouble if we're not careful. All right, so 29 with the first line, be cautious. With the Mars side of things, being active only according to the requirements of any specific situation, right? It's clear, yes, absolutely, this is what's being involved here. So Mars is always looking to make that expansion. And with the first line, it can be absolutely crystal clear. This is what needs to happen here. With the goal, fulfillment is what I'm reaching towards. Fulfillment is a very, very personal thing. At the end of the day, you put your head on the pillow and just say to yourself, what kind of a day was it today? Am I just completely fried, burned out, committed to everything except anything to do with me? Just fulfilled everything for everybody else? Or did I keep getting involved in things that really cherished me, where there was good exchange of energy, where there was just this internal sense of satisfaction? And even if you're exhausted, you're just absolutely fulfilled. What a great day. Neptune brings the other side of it, hesitating to commit, wobbling, hesitating to commit yourself because of past problems. Oh, well, it didn't really work out before, and I feel so foolish from how I did it before, will cause more trouble. The key, be present, right now. Life is right now. Yes, we got all these experiences and things out of the past, maybe. What this line is saying is that the potential for the yes can be enormous. But be present in this present moment. Do you have that clarity? If not, Let it go. There's not about wobbling and hesitating. It's about, don't have clarity to commit in this moment. The second line, which always has this kind of natural quality about it, doesn't always necessarily have reference points, says advancing slowly, right? Gradual steps, a contentment with gradual achievements, right? Just to see life moves along. And the second line is curious to see how things will turn out. Your endeavors are sustained by proceeding directly and gradually, or undone by rushing. Yeah, just too hasty and getting into something before you're absolutely clear about it all. There is that possibility. Oh, it looks great. Oh yeah, everyone else is going this way. And then you just see, well, here's the potential of getting into difficulties because it's not coming from one's own clarity. The nature of saying yes with the power to persist regardless of circumstances. Right? The second line always has this natural, innocent quality about it as a potential. A lot of times it's called the hermit, but it's also, there is that shyness, but there's also that boldness as well. It's when the two is really in its form. It'll just see, yeah, I've got the power to commit to this. I've got the nature to say yes and get involved. That's the sun energy here. So watch it when the sun goes into the second line of the 29, it's just going to open up that possibility of natural yeses. Things are coming your way where it's really, really easy to get involved. However, the Venus side of it says blinding yourself to real commitments allows you to maintain a sense of harmony. That you kind of shut out the possibility, well, I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to stay in my own little space here. Perhaps be the hermit, perhaps be the shy one, not to get involved in other people's situations, just take it easy, avoid, deny, put off. That's always a second line possibility. And then we get to the third line, and third lines always have this issue around committing or not. And the third line here says holding out. You're not going to hold out until I absolutely get clarity. Allowing decisiveness for change to come in its own natural way. Right? Sooner or later, it'll become absolutely crystal clear. It may be half a second before the clarity comes, but I'm just going to wait until that moment comes. And that's what the third line is saying here, because commitment is a very, very important thing for a third line. Finding that caution gives perspective over life's demands. You still feel the impulse to proceed. Third lines are here to experiment, try out everything, a finger in every pie. A lot of times the fingers get burned for the trouble, but there it is. There's always that third line thing of, what's this all about? What's going on over here? Bottom line I'm saying in the end is fulfillment. Is the fulfillment through getting involved in all kinds of different experiments and experiences. Finding that caution gives perspective over life's demands. You still feel an impulse. So Mars here, ultimately realizing how important your clarity is to be able to commit decisively in your life. So wherever, this is the 29, it's sort of about commitment and saying yes to things, but wherever there's a third line in your design, you'll just see, the clarity is so important. Because there can be this whole thing, I'm not going to get involved there because it's, it's going to cause me trouble. But the clarity coming from your own type and authority will know exactly what it is that really calls to you, who that really calls to you. And then the Jupiter side, any reluctance to make commitments due to your expanded, even unrealistic sense of caution. You kind of, it's like playing chess. You see 20 moves down the board and then 20 moves over this way. It's like, oh dear, I don't know that I can commit. There's potential complications down the way. It's kind of a potential to overthink it or expand on something that really can be quite simple into something that becomes really, really complicated instead. So going on into the fourth line, and we know between third and fourth lines, there's always a kind of shift in perspective here. If we're going to look at pronouns for the lines, we'll say the first line is all about me, I. What's my gig here? The second line is all about you. What's your story? How do you do things? There's a curiosity in the second line into other people. It's you singular. The third line is a bit less personal. He, she, and it. It's like, is this really worthwhile or not? Shall I get involved here or not? By the time we get to the fourth line, it's we. It's I plural. It's we. It's like wanting to get everybody on board with things. So here with the 29, when the fourth line has this clarity, commitment is the easiest thing. Being clear about your challenges brings relief quickly. What can be said about fourth lines is very, very open to opportunities. Can always see some possibility somewhere or other of how things can be melded together, how people can be brought on board. So being clear about your challenges brings relief quickly. It's like all of a sudden, yes, it's very easy to say yes. Embracing opportunities to move into any openings life offers, you experience rapid changes. It's like a hurrah call for the 29 in a sense. Is like the fourth line is, yeah, we can do this. We can make this work. And then Saturn gives it the discipline to commit yourself totally to the simplest and most direct process. Human beings love to make life complicated. We really do. You know, it's whether it's in gadgets or technologies or our interactions with each other and overthinking stuff. Particularly men, we love to make life extra complicated. But here it is, you know, here's the whole thing about seeing the opening, seeing the possibility and going for it. You know, what are the challenges? What are the potential pitfalls? And just going for it. And here the Venus side of things, which is always looking for a sense of harmony in a way. To avoid difficulties by downplaying their relevance, you can miss opportunities in your life. Oh, come on, let's just smooth it all out. Let's all just get along with each other, you know. Let's forget about, you know, starting anything different or new or saying yes to something that can bring a big expansion. And so, you know, the commitment of the fourth line can be downplayed a good bit. We get to the fifth line, which fifth line always has this opportunity to be in the lead or to kind of see further or see the possibilities, see the very fanciful outcomes sometimes, very different outcomes. It's quite true with the fifth line that there's always a kind of projection field around there. But out of a projection field can come some really amazing practical outcomes if there is clarity involved in this. So just going back to this whole thing, the 29 has this enormous push to say yes, to commit, to get out, to make an expansion, a cross-pollination take place. And the fifth line comes to this place of being restrained, moving into and through a cycle with clarity. So here comes this word cycle, and we're in this particular circuit within human design that we call the abstract circuit. It starts right at the bottom in gateway number 53, the new beginnings of things. And the new beginnings opens up a whole cycle of experiences. So by the time we get to the 29 is looking to say yes to things they're going to add to the cycle and ultimately bring fulfillment. So the fifth line is just seeing, okay, how do we go about this? We're going to into a cycle here. The moment I say yes, I am committed into a cycle, full on. You know, the energy coming out of the sacral center, there's no off switch once you commit that sacral energy. So your clear commitment is enough to avoid excesses. Otherwise, you get exhausted by indulging. I think all of us know overcommitment. And the fifth line is very sensitive to this and just seeing, look, let's just be really in touch with what it is that's going to happen here. How is the fulfillment going to unfurl itself? A clear responsiveness to say yes with a persistence that somehow brings completion. Clear responsiveness, right? Two ways to go about life: reaction, responding. And we know reaction is like, oh, you know, I'm not quite capable of dealing with this thing. I just kind of come out with an old program. When we come in response to something, you know, we're actually engaging with it directly. We're using our intelligence and all our abilities to engage there. So here the sun in the fifth line is saying a clear responsiveness to say yes. You know, this is just coming through me with a persistence that somehow brings completion one way or another. So again, it all comes back to that clarity in the first place of the yes. Now, the Earth's placement here, a tendency to say yes blindly and without the inner clarity to evaluate what is involved. Oh, sure, I can manage. I can do this. I'm a fifth line, you know, don't worry. It's easy. And then, fifth line's always in this balance of being absolutely brilliant in terms of guiding and leading and, making impossible situations practical, or getting totally hung up in everybody else's expectations, getting caught up in things that are unrealistic ultimately, and losing any kind of interaction from other people that is taking place in a state of ease. So blind, yes, this is the caution with the 29 gateway. It's almost like the 29 has this energy. I said it's a place of danger. It's this automatic, yes, get me out of here. Whatever it takes, get me out of here. And so, this fifth line, with its ability to see over things, can just say, okay, I can deal with this, whatever it is. Get me out of this thing. I'll say yes to anything blindly. And then, then the problems follow on. So again, it all comes back to personal clarity in your design. What's your type? What's your authority? How is that clarity coming to you? Then we come to the sixth line, which has this overview of all the other lines in the hexagram here. What is the word yes all about? And six lines, there's always this kind of expert quality about them. Oh, I can deal with this. I can manage. There's no problem here. So I call the line entangling, And the key words here: first, clear your path in front, right? Clear the agenda, and behind, make sure there's no excess baggage traveling with you. Then you have the possibility of getting into a situation that is going to be very, very fulfilling. What can happen for the 29-6 is it gets bogged down. It's like a snowball. Starts off in a very small little ball at the top of the hill. By the time you get to the bottom, it's tangled up with everything. And so 29 with a 6, we have to be really, really careful. Clear in front, clear the agenda, make sure that there's an opening for things to happen, and clear the path so you're not dragging a whole bunch of excess luggage with you. You have an instant yes to get involved in anything, anytime, right? That's the nature of the sixth line. Sure, yes, let's do it. Or you can choose to find clarity, right? So be aware of that. The clarity is the major thing. You can look around the world at the moment. We're all getting railroaded in all kinds of different directions. We're being told that politics is important. We're being told that religion is important. We're being told that court decisions are important. We're being told that armies are important, that countries, nationalities, all this stuff's important. And honestly speaking, yes, on some level, these things are important, but the most important thing is to be true to ourselves in whatever the circumstances is that comes our way. So this instant yes to get involved, and the entanglement that come about with that, we have to be really, really careful about that, the knee-jerk automatic yes. Here with the Mars energy, the power to persevere that makes no immediate sense often allows you to realize your goals. Power to persevere. You get the clarity to move on something in the first place. You don't necessarily know how it's going to evolve or turn out. But then it sees, oh yeah, I'm able to realize my goals. It's that trust in myself and trust in how I've engaged with something in the first place. With Jupiter here, you overcommit, right? Jupiter always has this very, very expansive energy about it. You overcommit despite the inevitable problems that arise from promises made and broken. For those of us that have recognized times in our life where we've made a commitment and then found ourselves having to break it, just can't manage it somehow or other. I've said yes too much. I've taken on too many things. I just can't fulfill this. And the sense of what? Personal distrust. I said I would and now I can't. So, the sixth line is really reminding us about that. The 29 is all about that yes. Yes is a magical word. Yes means expansion. Yes means success in terms of being really, really fulfilled in life. But the foundation of it all is to be absolutely clear that the yes is solid and sincere. And that's it. Okay, so let's leave it there for today.